Don't mess up the mood. Yeah, I work too hard for it. No, I need to beat it before you mess up the mood. Yeah, I work too hard for it. Yeah, don't mess up the mood.
I just saw Nando pulling up through the window. I'm gonna get this started. Welcome everybody once again to our episode number 53. I think this is. But just watch. He's not even gonna knock. He's gonna come right in, and this is where our friendship is. I like it. I like that he can just come in and not have to ask, but just watch. I'm gonna let you see. There he is. There he is. Like. Yo, what up, son? Come on in, bro. We're already recording, man.
What the hell?
I was like, hey, just watch. He's not even gonna knock. He's just gonna come right in. And then you looked in the fridge, huh, motherfucker?
Yeah.
I have a water for you right there,
I
bro.
brought my lunch, bro.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, what you mean? I'm not trying to go shoot after this. Hella hungry. You're
I don't know.
fucking-
I respect that. I respect that, dude.
My fault. I kind of
Let's
just
do it.
burst in here.
No, I was like, hey, just watch. He's not even gonna knock. But I was like, this is where our friendship is at the moment.
Comes into your house, opens your
Comes right
fridge,
in, opens the fridge.
opens the fridge like nothing happened.
Hey, I'm with it, man.
My
Honestly.
bad, bro. You know.
Nah,
Just,
man, you're good. What's up, dude?
how's it going?
What you been doing? Just running around all day or what?
This morning?
Yeah.
Well, I went to the gym for like an hour and a half, and then I had to go get groceries and put gas and like all that
Busy morning.
lame shit, you know?
Yeah, I feel you.
Yeah, but I mean, yeah, pretty much. I was cleaning the house a little bit, and then I realized it was like 11:30, and I'm like, oh shit,
You're
bro.
like, oh, fuck.
I was supposed to be over there at 12,
Now
and
when
I still needed to like shower and everything. So I'm like, yeah, just give me a bit, bro.
Now when you texted me, I was like, oh, this is not set up, so I have
Oh.
some time to...
So it kind of
Just
worked out,
everything
I
out.
guess.
Well, we're rolling, man.
All right, cool.
Episode 53.
53?
53? 53?
Yeah, that sounds
so.
about right.
Sounds
I'm
about
pretty
right.
sure the last one with Hannah and Avery was 52.
Yeah, so...
Yeah, 53.
53 episodes, going strong. We've
Yeah,
been
we've been
consistent
pretty
the last couple of
consistent.
weeks. I'm with
Yes,
it.
sir. I love it.
So today we have another topic.
Yep, little
And-
topic podcast today, guys. So
Yeah,
Be
let us
talking about
know.
a few things.
You know, if you're liking these. I personally love it. You know,
Yeah, I
we get
think
to
it's
just
like a
talk
good
about something
switch up.
else.
yeah, I've had a good amount of responses from like, you know, we've only done one, which was the imposter syndrome.
And that got a lot of like good feedback.
Yeah, I've seen people like shooting or something or like just friends of mine who watched it and they're like, oh, this is dope. Like I like the change of like just talking about
Yeah.
whatever kind of topic too, and maybe not just, you know, along those lines, but just like I think getting a little bit
More
of
specific.
everything for everyone. Yeah.
And be more specific too with like what the things we talk about and stuff.
Yeah.
And like this week we didn't really have like a plan. And then you texted me. I was like, well, let me think about this shit.
Yeah.
And then I remembered I had some friends over in the studio over the weekend, right?
Mm-hmm.
And one of them is 18 and he's trying to get into photography and stuff. And he kind of pulled me aside and he was like trying to, you know, talk to me a little bit. I was like, okay, well, you know, what do you
Yeah.
got to say? Because he was like, yeah, I kind of want to get your input on this. And
Uh-huh.
I was like, okay, let's hear it.
Yeah.
And he started talking to me about pricing and how he doesn't have support from his parents to pursue photography.
Oh, okay.
Right. And so we started talking and then, you know, I remember that we talked about all that. So I was like, maybe this is a good topic to talk on the podcast, you know?
Yeah.
And so pricing. Do we go with pricing first or do we go with...
I'm down for
yeah,
pricing
pricing
first.
first.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think a lot of people maybe have the misconception that photographers don't make a lot of money.
Yeah. Definitely. Which is why I think a lot of times when you're trying to do it, people don't support it right off the
Yeah.
bat because they're kind of like, how much money can you really make?
Where do you think that stems from?
I don't know. I feel like maybe it's like an old school mindset. Like maybe back in the day,
It wasn't
you know,
like a
it
thing.
wasn't a thing. And the thing with like making money with photography is like it's different depending on what you do. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like obviously if you shoot portrait stuff, like you can do events and your typical like portrait things like families and grads and like couples and all that.
Yeah.
But then there's people who don't want to shoot like portrait stuff, and maybe they're just like, I just want to be like a car photographer. I don't really know like that industry as to like let's say you get like a connect with like a dealership and you shoot for them or something. Like do they give you like a contract, and then is it like salary based, or you know how like some photographers will work for like an agency and like maybe do headshots for them or something, and that's just more of like, you know, I think they pay you, so you're not necessarily freelancing. Like you're kind of working under like a company almost, instead of like charging what you want to charge. They might just be like, this is our budget, and you know, we can pay you this much for this much. Yeah. And then there's people who like survive on just selling prints, which is crazy. Yeah. Like people who can do that. Wild. Like just landscape stuff, because they're just landscape photographers, so they sell like prints or do art shows and like all that.
I think personally, I don't think people realize just how much demand there is for photography. Yeah. Especially with social media driving everything right now. Yeah. Like maybe, you know, a family might be like, well, we go and pay for a shoot. We paid $100, $200, and that's where they leave it at, you know? This photographer made $200 for this amount of time. But like the photographer is doing that over and over throughout the week. Constantly. If you're like established and like well known out there,
like consistent,
and that adds up. And not to mention like the events, how much money can you make in an event? Like an 8-hour event, you can make thousands in one day.
Yeah, in one day. Yeah.
And I'm sure we both know photographers who only do events, and they do more than fine with just events, because they charge a lot of money for it.
They kind of compensate for like not shooting smaller stuff. Yeah, I guess. But I mean, I don't know. Like, I think, like part of when I was coming up with it, or like even before like going full time, I think like I used to tell people like, oh, you know, like I made this much, but when you're starting, you don't charge much. Yeah. So it doesn't seem like a lot. Like you're like, oh, I made like $50. Yeah. Per shoot, and I did 3, which is still $150, which is what most people don't even make in a day of 8-hour work, like depending on your hourly income.
And that's 45 minutes of shooting, an hour of editing.
Yeah, exactly. So I think like when you go back to the demand thing, it's like people get married every year.
People have babies every year.
People graduate every year.
There's consistency, even though it might not seem like it.
And then like, you know, like there's the for sure's of the year, which is like, you'll probably have someone ask you for maternity because, you know, people have kids every year. Right. You'll get asked for grads because like a lot of people graduate every year. People get married every year. Quinceañeras, like whatever other type of event, it happens yearly. And then there's like the other stuff that isn't necessarily guaranteed, but it still happens, where someone's like, oh, we're a couple and we've never had photos taken.
Or we just want pictures of, it's gonna be my birthday.
Yeah, I want pictures. Like pictures of me, or my family and I haven't done pictures in a while. Like I
had somebody reach out, I want pictures of my dog.
Yeah.
Is that all you want? Yes. All right.
Yeah.
We'll do it.
Yeah, sometimes you just get things like, or like headshots, you know, like people for businesses, or like LinkedIn or whatever they want. Or some people just want pictures to post on Instagram. Like as obscure as that seems to some people, like that's a thing.
Yeah, some people, I mean, I'm sure a lot of people out there love the attention. I might even go as far as saying that I like the attention too. So like, hey, you want attention? Get some nice pictures taken. You put them out there.
Yeah, you know? Like I've had people who, you know, and I'm sure it happens to you and other photographers who are like, oh, I just want like a small 30-minute shoot because I want photos for my Instagram. I'm like, okay,
let's do it. So let's just first of all, let's establish that like photographers can make a lot of money. Mm-hmm. If you're well established, you can make 6 figures easily, right?
Yeah, you can make more than people with degrees. Yeah, and don't ever like think that you can't, because you can. But then
the other thing is, how do you get there? I was talking to this kid, and we all start somewhere, right? And so I was like, so when you started, how much were you charging, if at all? He's like, I started charging $10 for 45 minutes.
That's insane.
I was like, that's something.
I mean,
I
yeah,
started charging nothing for an hour.
for
You know what I
nothing.
mean?
Yeah.
I was like, that's something. So where are you at now? He's at $45 for 45 minutes. I'm like, okay, you're getting there.
You're still slowly going up.
So I feel like we can talk from our own experience and maybe talk to them about what it took us to up our prices over time.
Yeah. I guess we can just give both our perspectives, right? Like maybe what pushed us to increase pricing
it,
and
right?
stuff.
Yeah.
I think when I was starting, I was doing like 45 or $50 for like 45 minutes.
Okay.
Let's say, right? Because I didn't know. And like I was like you, like when I first started, I think the first couple shoots I charged nothing.
That's after you charge, yeah, right?
Yeah, because I just wanted to
know
know how to shoot portraits and like figure that out first. And then I went about like, oh, maybe I can make a little extra money on the side, like whatever. I think once I started to be more in demand, like I was getting asked, like I was shooting a couple times a week at this point.
Did it take off for you right away?
No, I think like
how long did it take for you to like, oh, people are hitting me up and
I think like a year after I started. Like my first year of shooting portraits was in 2016, right? And I maybe only did like 25 shoots that year, you know, like for the whole year.
The whole year, right.
And keep in mind, my first portrait shoot was like at the end of January. So in those other 11 months, I might have only done like 25 things.
Well, see, that alone gives a lot of perspective because this kid hasn't been doing it for a year.
Oh, really?
You know what I mean?
Okay. And is he like doing more? Like, is he doing a good amount?
He does a lot of stuff, but I don't think he gets a lot of clients. Like, he's not all paid. You know what I mean?
Okay. Like he's still kind of
he's just building from the ground. Yeah.
Okay.
And then you were charging 45, right?
Yeah. So I was charging like 50, I think, for basically since like from between January when I did the first one up until like I think July of that year, I was doing like $50 for everything. And then I noticed that in the fall time, you know how the fall time is. Like in August of that year, that's when I did the most shoots for the year. You know, I think I did like 10 out of the 25, which I was like, damn, that's crazy. 10 shoots, you know?
Right.
And I raised my pricing up to like 75 at that point, just because like I saw that people were asking me, and I kept it at 75 for the rest of 2016. And then in 2017, which would have been year 2, I think I went up to like 100 for 45 minutes for like basically almost the entire year up until like fall time again. And then I raised it, I think, up to like 120.
So every time you raised your price, what was like your mindset at? Were you like, when I hit this date, I'm going to raise it? Or like when I get this amount of clients, I'm going to raise it? Or like how were you?
It was more like, let me look at the demand that I have, you know, because in 2017, I did like double the shoots for the year. I think I was at like 55 for that year. So I was slowly seeing that like more people were asking for stuff. And that's around the time that I started thinking like, what if I really tried to like do this full time? You know, like late into my second year is when I really started considering like, I'm not really feeling college. You know, I don't want to work at this type of place forever. I had a good job and everything, but like my interest was now in shooting like full time. So then I talked to people who had been in the industry like Davey Hibbler, Chef, like all those guys.
Right.
And around that time they were doing it full time. So they said, well, you can't be full time unless you raise your price. Like it's just not going to happen because you have to consider, you know, it's different for everyone. Like maybe you live on your own or you have roommates or you live with a partner. Or
you got to look at your financial
like your
situation.
Parents. Yeah. Like you have to figure out your finances like a lot before taking that step, in my opinion.
Yep.
And if you have like a job that's getting you through, you have to kind of look at how many shoots you do a month. And you're like, I either make less than what my job gives me or more, which you never want to leave if you make less.
Yeah. And okay, that's another point that I want to talk about, but go on.
And so for me, I think I was doing it during the fall times because I was getting even more demand. So I'm like, I can get away with charging a little more.
Mm-hmm.
And then in 2018, I think I was strictly at like 140 or something around there, like 150 for anything, any type of shoot. And it was like 45-minute sessions or whatever. And then you have the half, like you do 70 or 80 for half.
Yeah.
But then in late 2018 is when I really started being like, I'm going full time in a couple months. Like that's my goal, So then when I went full time, I'm like, okay, this is now like my job. So I compared it to how much money I was making at Patagonia at the time. And I'm like, okay, this is about where I'm at. And then I had like a good amount of weddings for 2019 booked. So I'm like, cool, at least I have these a month, And then that's when I started to get out more anyways. Like more people were
and
like
this
asking.
is happening as you grow.
Yeah.
Like as your
this
Instagram,
is within the span of like 3 years,
right.
basically.
You're growing, more people are coming to you.
I was still shooting like things for free sometimes just to get more in my portfolio or just to like practice more. The more you do it, the better you're going to get at it. And then when I went full time, it was definitely like, okay, now I got to like have a price where even if I do 2 shoots a week, like I'll be okay for the month type of thing.
Right.
And then so I raised my pricing according to that. And then that's kind of how I've been at it ever since.
Right.
And then I remember, I don't know if it was you or Chef might have brought it up where like, if 70% of the people say yes to you.
Oh yeah, that was Chef. I always think about that.
Yeah, like if 70% of the people say yes to you, then it's okay to raise your price.
Yeah. I told him too. I told the kid like the exact same thing, right? But also, if you're young and you're doing photography and you want to do this as your main source of income, you can get there. I don't want to discourage anybody out there. You can get there, but you gotta hustle. You gotta work. You have a job first of all.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to put this kid on the spot. I'm not gonna say his name, but he doesn't have a job at the moment.
Like a regular day job.
Yeah. And that's where the not having support from your parents comes in too.
Oh.
Which we can go into later, but
okay.
Like you gotta have your job, and then eventually you gotta do photography as much as you want, as much as you can on the weekend after work. Just figure it out, but it's not gonna happen overnight. Like Nando's talking about, like he took him 2-3 years to go full time, and then from there you can progress. For me, dude, fuck. I did probably like $60 for a long time. Yeah. At first. Like, and I was still getting turned down with that.
Yeah.
Rate.
I mean, me too.
Rate. Yeah.
Even when I was charging 50, people would be like, no. And you know why though? Is because the quality of your work speaks for itself.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like when you're first starting, you're not going to compare to people who've been doing it for years. Right. And that's okay because people will still like your stuff. You know, like you could be shooting for 6 months and someone might still like your stuff more than someone who's been shooting 7 years.
Or someone wants to give you the opportunity.
Yeah. Or they're just like, hey, you're more of an up and comer. Like, let me, take my shot with you. Like, see how I like everything. And
we've been friends for a while. Take pictures of me and stuff
like you have like friends who might support you more because they know you. So they're like, let me book you instead of somebody else.
Yeah.
Which I think is important, like anyone who does that, like obviously thank you to them because I definitely had people like that who were like, well, I know these people, but you're my friend, so let me go to you. Yeah. And to this day, they just kept coming back because then, they kind of see the progression and stuff. But I also think it's important to not get discouraged even if you're not charging a lot, people are still kind of like, oh, I don't want to do it, or they're not okay with the price, even though it's still like pretty cheap. Because that happens to like everybody with anything, like any type of business or like art thing, like it's going to happen to you a lot. Like you're going to get turned down at first. And then eventually throughout time, when you progress and you get better, like there's going to be more yeses than nos. So don't.
Yeah, one of my main thing is just like post as much as you possibly can, market yourself, reach out to people, and then collab.
Yeah, and another thing is like post what you want to be booked for.
Exactly.
Like if you are interested in doing weddings, and you've never done a wedding, either go second shoot with someone, put together a styled shoot so
And
that people have something to look at.
Or don't wait for somebody to reach out to you. Like, you can reach out to second shoot somebody.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Like, just contact any local photographer who does weddings and, you know, try to coordinate with them and just build your portfolio for what you want. Like, you're like, I want to be a wedding photographer. Okay, then you need to post wedding stuff. Because if you don't, and you post anything besides weddings, people aren't gonna really be interested, because they'll just go look at another profile that has wedding stuff and they're like, oh, these are all the examples they have.
There's a lot of competition out there, so you gotta stay on top of your game and try to just do as much as you can.
Yeah, and find a way to stick out, you know, whether it's like through your editing or maybe your personality speaks for itself, like, or offer your clients things that most photographers might not offer. Like, there's many ways that you can go about it.
People do notice when you at least try to go above and beyond for clients, you know?
Yeah.
I remember at first even charging, like, I think I was doing like $100, but with that 100, I would get like a prints package and I would give them like a little box with prints.
Yeah, me too. I did that for a long time. It was a whole 45-minute
shoot, sometimes an hour shoot, you know, and, you know, just try to go and just try to be nice too.
I started bringing back that this year for certain packages only, though, like not for everything. Like for the bigger ones that people get, I like to give them a little gift back.
Yeah.
Now, because I stopped doing it like 2 years ago, just because it was also kind of a lot to keep up with everything. Like, you know, printing a gift box for like every shoot you do is a lot, you know? So now it's more of like, if you get this certain package, then you get.
And that's also when you can, if you really want to up your prices and be on the higher end, then that's where having stuff like that can be handy. You know, like you do maybe not as many shoots during a week, during a month, but every shoot is so personalized that the client is getting like that really high-end experience, you know?
And then they're more likely to recommend you after that.
Yeah.
And that's how you slowly build your clientele.
And also, I think you got to look at other stuff too. Like, if you really are trying to do this as a living, then look at your costs too. Like, how much do you have invested in your equipment? Because that's important, you know? Like, you might have a nice camera and that costs you a certain amount. You have to take that into consideration. Maybe you're still paying it off, you know? So take all those expenses that you have and then charge accordingly, you know? You can't, because you can charge accordingly with your expenses, but also your time and then your labor too.
Yeah, because like if you have a normal job, you know, you're going to shoot when you're not at work. So you're still technically working. So you got to value the free time that you'd normally have from your day job to shooting, you know? So don't like underprice yourself too much either.
And I'm going to go ahead and plug you in real quick. You're doing workshops, or what do you call that?
Mentorship.
A mentorship. Use stuff like that too to improve the quality of your service. And then the experience that you can provide to your client too.
Yeah.
How was that one? Because you had one
I've only done
Sunday,
one so
right?
far, but it was good. I felt well, I kind of asked him for a review and he was definitely happy by the end of it. You know, he's like, I learned a lot about shooting itself and then certain camera settings for certain things, you know, like because one of my main things with him was like, you don't always have to shoot at such a low aperture. Especially for certain shots, like because it might make it more out of focus.
It looks cool, but yeah, if you don't get it right, then it's gonna look
like
amateur.
Maybe just, you know, go with a little higher aperture that still gives you sharpness, but it also isn't super like over the top, like blurry background, like you can't see any detail in the background.
Yeah.
And then I was also working with him. I'm like, do you like portrait style more or landscape, or maybe try both? That way you give people variety. Working on having someone center their photos more, you know, like that was a big thing. But every person who's booked one has had like different things that they want. And for him, it was that. And he's like, look, I like to shoot this. Like I like to shoot small events and couples. So I just asked a couple to volunteer. And he was like, I want to get help with like how to highlight intimate photos for couples, because I don't know how to do that. So there's obviously certain poses and up closer shots that you take for those things, you know. And then after that, I just we just had like a editing session, and I pretty much asked him like what what type of look are you trying to get? Like, I can help you get it as much as you want. And he had a few examples, like, you know, from like inspiration that he had. And he's like, I kind of want my stuff to be like this. And kind of just gave him a general rundown. Like, look, this is your tone curve, so you can do this. Your colors will do this if you move this and move that. And basically he like slowly moved everything himself and then ended up with like a preset. And then he saw right then and there like the importance of having a preset,
just to have the consistency and everything.
yeah, because then he was like, oh, these are starting to look a lot more like
I want
like
them to
I
look.
want them to.
Nice.
And then how he's like, they all kind of look the same. He's like,
Right.
and I've struggled with that. Like, that was his
Yeah.
thing. He's like, I didn't know how to get the same look every time.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, that's why having a preset is so important, because then you can copy paste and then adjust everything according to the lighting.
Yeah.
And I made sure I told him, like, hey, it doesn't guarantee that the preset's going to look like this every single shoot. Keep that in mind, because every shoot is different. So just try to emulate it as much as you can. And I just say, if you have any questions, you got my number. Call me if you want to meet up in a few weeks for like an updated, this is where my editing's at. Like, that's fine.
Yeah.
I didn't want it to, I didn't want it to be like, we're together those 3 hours and that's it. It's like, if you need help with whatever, or send me examples and I can give you pointers, is like, that was my biggest thing, is like, you know, just to help out. And now I just gotta wait for the other 4, which are coming up within the next like month and a half. So I'm excited for that.
I know him too, and I'm happy for him, man. Even that first post that he made, you could really tell the difference. Yeah, I mean, and stuff like that, you know. The more professional your stuff looks, the more you are gonna be able to raise your prices eventually.
Yeah.
You know. And I was looking at this article online, and this kind of hit me, dude. It says evaluate your own financial beliefs. Like, how much importance do you place on money? And for the longest time, I feel like that was an issue for me, because I don't really care about money that much. And it was like, raise your prices. But I'm chilling at what I'm like doing, you know. And it's still kind of like a struggle every time I need to raise my prices, because I get super booked, super high in demand. Everybody's saying yes to the price that I have. So it's like, well, I don't care about money, but I also don't want to burn myself out every time.
Yeah.
So that's when raising your prices, you might lose some clients here and there, but then you're doing just as much money with maybe less work. You know what I mean? So that's the one thing, like, growing up, maybe your parents were like, turn off the lights, like, we don't, you know.
Oh, use up energy.
Yeah, don't use up so much energy. Like, money doesn't grow on trees. Like, you know, I don't think I ever had that much, you know. And so money's like, it's whatever, you know.
Yeah.
So that's the other thing you have to look at, I think. Even though you might feel like you're doing just fine with the amount of money that you're charging, it might be time to raise it.
It also depends where you are in your life in general. Like, maybe you're younger and, you know, you can, you know, you're currently living with your parents and they're okay and like charging you rent or something.
Yeah.
Like, take advantage of that, because when you get older, like, bills start to stack up, and then you got to really think about, like, I have to pay this, I have to pay that.
Yeah. I think even if you're in a, you know, you don't have that many bills, or you live with your parents or whatever, I think don't let that hold you back from establishing your worth. You know what I mean?
Because think about it. Let's say you're like 19 years old or 18 and you're sort of fresh out of high school. And so you're maybe still in college, you know, like maybe you're in school and you have like a part-time in the meantime, just so you have something. And, you know, you're living with your parents, but you're still trying to pursue this whole like business thing on the side. Don't let it discourage you because you don't have a lot to pay, because down the line you're gonna have stuff to pay. So you just build it up so that when you get there,
and why not just
okay.
take advantage of, you're doing well financially, but you can be better off, you know, like you can just do so much better.
Yeah. Like, I mean, like, money isn't everything, but it kind of is, because we rely on it every single day. Yeah. You need a roof over your head. You need a car. You need gas. Like, it's just, and what's gonna pay for that? Money.
Especially when you're young too. Like, the earlier you start, the better it's gonna be in the long run.
Oh
you know?
yeah, I wish I would have started so much earlier.
Yeah, I mean, we're both 27,
Yeah.
and I feel like I'm at the point now where I can look back and be like, oh, I could have done this, and this
Yeah, me
different,
too.
you know, and I was able to, I just didn't do it. You
Yeah,
know what I
me
mean?
too.
So things like that. But what's your opinion on maybe looking at other photographers' rates and comparing your work to their work and be like, oh, maybe I can raise it, or maybe I'm above his, or like, what's your take on that?
I think from some people I've talked to is like, it's not a bad thing to look at
I don't
what
think
other
so
people
either.
are charging, because then you can kind of see, you know, like, oh, is this someone who's been shooting for this long, so that's why he has a lot of clients or she has a lot of clients.
Right.
And then you kind of look at maybe how far in you are, and then you can kind of draw a conclusion from there, like, where's like the average market price, like what's the average.
You have to be aware.
Yeah, like you have to kind of see like what's the average photographer cost in Reno.
Yeah.
So do some research. Let's say like the average is like $300 an hour, right? Let's just say that's like the average pricing. So then you can kind of draw from there how much to charge depending on how you think like advanced you are. Like maybe you're not ready to be charging 200 because you've only been shooting a certain amount of time, and you still think like, I just need to get up there a little more. Then maybe just charge 100.
Yeah.
And then in
like
like
maybe
the
I'm
next
not,
year,
I don't have that many clients, so I'm gonna go below average or below what this one photographer is charging, so that way I have better chances of booking the clients that reach out and stuff like that.
yeah.
And then once you start, and then you go from there, you know.
Yeah, until the meantime, as you build it up,
Right.
you can slowly charge more. And the other thing is like, not everyone who shoots wants to be full-time is the thing.
That's
you
true.
know? So that's another thing to keep in mind. Like if you're a photographer or like videographer or any type of, self-employed, like, I don't know, hairstylist, like musician, anything, like anything that you do, look at it as in like, this is like a cool, like little money on the side, but I do it more just like for fun. And if I make a little money on the side, it's fine. But this isn't my end goal.
Yeah.
Then look at your pricing from there, because do you really need to be charging a lot if you're not really interested in making it your full-time job? Like maybe you can get away with charging lower because you're just kind of like, oh, I'll make a quick, extra $100.
Yeah, and that goes back to like how much importance do you place on money and how much you're making with what you're doing. If you like what you're doing and you want to charge not that much amount of money, then it's cool,
because you're just kind of like, I just like to shoot, and if I make a couple extra dollars on the side, like whatever.
Yeah.
But it's different when it's like your job. Like you have to definitely charge more as you go. And then like I was telling you in San Fran, like you got to look at the inflation of like everything. Like, is housing costs going up more where you live?
Yeah.
Is gas costs going up where you live? Like, you have to, like, take all those things into account and be like, if I don't raise my prices, I can't keep up with the current, like.
That's always changing too. So.
Yeah, that's why it's okay for your pricing and all that to be changing, because, gas is up and down. Living is up and down, rents are up and down, like everything is up and down. So you have to kind of almost keep up with that.
Yeah.
Because if you're charging a little bit and rent is just getting higher and higher, like you're not going to keep up.
Yeah.
Like you have to slowly work it up there.
I had some travel fees when I, like a year ago or something like that, when gas was kind of cheap.
Mm-hmm.
This is going to be my travel fee. Kept that same travel fee for a long time, but now I feel like I need to raise it because gas is that much more expensive.
Yeah, I've had to raise mine already.
I haven't, so I feel like I have to look into that. But like gas went up like crazy. You have to keep up with life,
Like maybe 2-3 years ago, you fill up your tank with, I don't know, $25 maybe, $25-$30, and someone's making you, travel where you're gonna almost get rid of your whole tank.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, maybe charge for one tank, but nowadays you fill up your tank with 40 to 50.
Yeah.
So now it's like I have to double it.
You have to make changes.
Because if not, you're gonna be losing out on that money. Like you're gonna go fill up your tank, you're gonna drive to your location, you're gonna go shoot whatever, you drive back home, you're like, damn, my tank is almost empty and I only got like $20-$25.
Yeah, you're basically.
And I got to put in 25 out of the chute just to fill back up.
Exactly. You're spending more money. Your profit goes down.
Yeah.
It's not smart.
So you always want to make a profit more than anything. It should be your thing.
So yeah, I think in summary for pricing, start off easy. Get some clients going. Have them have a good experience. That way they can go and tell their friends, tell their family members to go with you and start building from there. Once you get a little too busy, that's kind of when you have to look into maybe raising your price. And it is scary every time, but I promise you, once you do it and you see that people are still booking you at that rate, you're going to be like, I'm never going back to what I was doing.
Yeah.
Run specials, minis.
People like that.
Having a big clientele is going to be the most important part.
The more people you shoot with, the more likely you can keep going and going with like raising it, because more and more people are going to find out. And
it's like a snowball
yeah,
effect.
like people might not find you when you charge a certain amount, and then you raise your pricing and they just know you for that amount. They're like, okay.
Yeah.
Like they don't know how much you were charging a year ago.
Exactly.
Or even a couple months ago or whatever. Like they just found you when they did, and they're like, oh, it's this much? Okay.
Yeah.
And then same thing, that can happen the next year. Like you're going to constantly get new people. And, maybe in the next year you're charging a little more, and that's when they find you. They're like, oh, you were charging that much last year? Well, I didn't know, but this is how much you charge now. So
yeah, try to look up tutorials on YouTube on how to get better and how to have better communication skills, how to edit better. Just try to improve yourself in every aspect.
Hang out with more people experienced than you too.
True.
Like even if it's like can I just come with you on this little trip that you might be doing so I can get pointers and all that? Or like, hey, do you want to have an editing session soon? And then, for the most part, I feel like every photographer here is friendly enough to be like, yeah, let's go have like an edit session, and I can, maybe give you some pointers on what you want. Like, I'm not gonna, you don't have to necessarily like charge someone for that. If someone is having like a thing that's paid, then okay. But if it's more of like I just need, we'll be here at this coffee shop doing this. Like, what do you think of that? And then that just is going to help you progress more.
See, and when you do all of that, then you can go back to your parents and be like, oh, you don't support me? Well, look at all this. Look how much I'm making.
Let's talk about
I feel like
the
I have
thing.
one story that somebody sent me, but I feel like we both have very supportive parents, right?
Yeah. Definitely not at first.
It wasn't always like that?
No, not for me. Well,
there was maybe some pushback,
I think,
maybe more concern rather than...
Yeah, not like I don't support it. It's just, it also depends on like your family and if, like the culture, like it's different for everyone. Yeah. I think in Hispanic households, it's like they have like this thing of, okay, you're going to go to college, you're going to get a good job, and that's what you're going to do after. And that's like the traditional thing, because most Hispanic parents didn't go to college and get the job that they wanted. So they do more like,
to do that, right?
Yeah. So they want you to, they do more like labor, induced jobs, like, construction or whatever it is. And they do well. They provide for their family well, of course, but they also don't want their kids to end up like that. And some are just like, if you want to be in my field, then come on in and I'll teach you.
Which is totally valid. Like I can understand where that comes from.
Yeah, and some people are interested in that, like I have a cousin who has been currently staying like with my parents sometimes, and my aunt sometimes here, who is in the States, and he wanted to come up here and just do construction, like plumbing stuff. And so my stepdad takes him to work every single day, and that's what he wants to do though. Like he enjoys it. Right. Like he's genuinely like, I like doing this.
Hey, plumbers, man,
they make money.
They get money, bro.
Yeah, and so it's like good for you that's what like you wanted to do. And like he has my stepdad who's been in the field for years, and so he's like, yeah, just come with me and I'll do this. Me, I never wanted to do that.
Then there's Nando. I want to take pictures, mommy. Mommy, I want to go take pictures.
Mami, quiero ser fotógrafo. Leave me alone.
Quiero una de las quinceañeras, mami.
Like,
and then there's you.
yeah, and then there's, my cousin's all about the, I want to go do this, and I'm like, hell no, bro. I mean, I used to go do construction with my stepdad when I was in my teens, and that's what he did, though, to show me, like, do you want to do this, or do you want to do, like, the college and find something else thing?
Mm-hmm.
And I just remember not liking it. Like, it just wasn't for me, man. It's a lot of work.
Labor, man.
And even though it's hard labor, some people enjoy it. I just didn't. And I'm like, I'm good, bro. I think I'll figure it out. You know, once I'm like after high school,
bro,
and all that.
Sorry, bro.
What?
Let me tell you this. You show up, bro, as my plumber, man.
Me?
I'm calling someone else, bro.
Why, bro? Why you gotta doubt me like that?
I don't know, bro.
Damn.
You just don't seem like the plumber kind of person, man.
I know some stuff, bro. My stepdad's taught me a lot. I bet you I could fix up your backyard real nice.
Jesus, man.
Just give me some time. I'll lay out some new grass for you. Put some sprinkler systems in there. You think I don't got
if
that?
If I show up and I were to do something for somebody, they'll probably be the same way, man. Like,
yeah, I wouldn't trust you with shit. I wouldn't even trust you, like, changing my HDMIs on my TV or something. You'd be like, you're about to mess it up.
The other day, this fucking door, man, was all hanging. Like, at first when I put this freaking glass wall on, and, like, I tried to fix it, dude, and it was just not working.
Not happening?
Called my brother up. Comes in, man.
The handy brother?
Took one screw, bro. And he got it. He got it.
That's crazy, bro.
And I was doing the same thing, but I don't know what the fuck he did. He got it fixed, bro. So
hey, the other day I had issues with my shower head. Like the pressure wasn't coming out, and I had no idea what to do. I like tried looking stuff up, and it just wasn't really giving me much of an answer. I asked my stepdad, I'm like, hey, the shower thing is just, everything comes out good, like the kitchen, everything, like every water supply is fine besides the shower head. It's just so low pressure. He's like, oh yeah, I'll go take a look at it. He goes, he like took it out and like put this other whole little thing on it. And he's like, it was just getting old, so you gotta replace it. I'm like, huh?
There you go.
I'm like, I didn't, what? I would have never known to do that. He's like, yeah, you can just buy a little pack of these, and if that ever happens, just switch it out, because it's just,
Yeah, they get clogged.
I'm like, oh, okay.
Oh, well, thank you.
And then as soon as I turned it on, it's blasting hella good again. I'm like, I would have never known.
Nah, man, shout out to handyman out there, because
I need to take some lessons from that man and become as handy as he is, because holy crap, bro.
We are. I don't think we have as many handymans around.
You know what I'm hella good at, though? You buy any furniture that needs to be built, I will build that like no other.
Really?
Bro. I'm actually really good at that. Like, you go get a table from like anywhere, I'm really good at putting all that stuff together.
That's just a pain sometimes.
It is. I actually like it. Is that weird? Like, I like building.
That's because you do the whole Lego thing, huh? You like building things?
Yeah, bro. Legos is building, so that's where I learned. Training.
There you go. What the fuck were we?
About the parents.
Oh yeah, you were not feeling like doing that, right?
No.
So what happened when you went to your mom and you were like, "Mom, I'm doing this. I'm making this amount of money." Like, what?
Well,
what's her reaction?
obviously, like I said, I did it 3 years, like not charging too much, but making a little side money, and they knew, I made a little extra money, but I still had a job, so they weren't really concerned about anything. Like, they're like, "Oh, you still got your job and you're making a little money on the side, cool."
Right, which I think some of the concerns that come from parents are very valid.
Oh, 100%.
Like this one kid that doesn't have a job, I'm like, I told him, dude.
Like, you should have a job.
I told him you should have a job.
Yeah, because you need money, bro. Like, you need finances.
Yeah.
Like, unless you're making what a job would give you already, like through what you're doing, like you should have something to get you there in the meantime.
Yeah, you have to be independent, dude. You cannot be relying, especially after you're 18. That's when you have to start to be more independent. And the other thing, if you don't have support from them right now, one way to make sure that they do support you eventually is to show them that you can.
Yeah, prove them wrong.
Prove them wrong. Work your ass off, and have your job, man. That's the first and most important part.
Like for me, I think when I got closer to doing it, I talked to both of them, so my stepdad and my mom, and I'm like, look, guys, this is kind of where I'm at. I really want to try to do this. And I kind of gave them a rundown of like what I was making and everything. And my mom was more concerned. My stepdad was more of like he was definitely always the type to be like, find something that you want to do and isn't going to be like backbreaking work where you're like miserable all the time, where you're just always tired. And he was the one that told me, he's like, I think you might have finally found like your little niche. Like this could work out for you. My mom was more like, what do you mean you're gonna drop out of college and stop working at that good company you work for? Which is very valid point, because
I feel like that's super, super cool from your stepdad.
Yeah, he was definitely way more supportive than she was.
What do you think would have happened if, let's say, your mom wasn't with it and your stepdad wasn't with it?
I still would have done it.
You would have done it?
I was determined to like do it for me, even if they supported me or not.
Yeah. But then,
I was thankful that he was supportive.
Did he give you like a little push to be like, oh, he believes in it?
Yeah, definitely. Because I'm like, you know what? Like, at least someone, understands where I'm coming from. And I didn't blame my mom, like I said, it's very valid points. Like I had a good job, I was working for a really good company. I was pretty into school already, so I get it, like just to drop all that and pursue a whole new thing that isn't guaranteed. Like any parent is going to be like, but at the same time, if you let others stop you from doing it, like you're never going to know what if, and even if you try it and it doesn't work out, that's okay. You tried it. Yeah. Like at least you tried it. Like you could go back to school. You go back to working somewhere.
We're 27. I'm about to be 28 soon. We're still young, dude.
We got a lot of time, bro.
You got a lot of time.
A lot of time.
Like a lot. Like you don't realize just how much time.
There's people who started after us.
Yeah.
And they're where they want to be at now. Yeah. Like there's not really
a timeline that you have to follow. You can do it whenever you feel like you're ready. And if you try it and it doesn't work out, then you tried it, and now you can say it didn't work out and you can move on.
I
also be smart about it.
I've told them, I still left my job, whatever. I started it, and they had their feelings in the beginning because they didn't know. But I want to say after like 8 months of being full-time, and they saw the difference of how I was doing financially and just the benefits of it. I was able to hang out with them more. I took like 3 weeks that first year of being full-time to go to Mexico and see my grandmas I hadn't seen in like
one thing I'm about
years.
To do, and I'm excited.
And they were like, oh, damn.
Yeah.
My mom changed her mind after that. And ever since then, they've been very supportive about it. But it's definitely like, you got to just do it, man. And
I think it's only at first, right? Like there's a lot of uncertainty. You don't know what's going to happen.
Even like, not just from your parents, like friends might be like, are you sure? Like, and don't take that the wrong way. Like people just want what's best for you.
Yeah.
And it is like a what if kind of thing. In any industry that you are, it's not guaranteed you're going to make it. But like, if you deep down want to do it for yourself, not for other people. And then use that as your motivation to be like, check in with me in a year and see where I'm at. Like, I used to have a lot of friends during that time who were definitely like, oh no, like that's not going to happen, blah, 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 blah. And that pushed me to be like, all right, in a year, we'll see where I'm at. And then in a year later, I'm like, look at where I'm at.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah, I think I don't think I was super self-aware back then when you were telling me to do it and to go full-time I didn't realize just how established I was because I had my clients and stuff. Yeah, and then you saw it and you were telling me, and then one day it kind of just clicked, and then that same day I went and put in my 2 weeks.
I just remember like talking to you about it like 3 days before that. And then you just texted me hella early in the morning. You're like, bro, I think this is it. And
yeah,
I
went to work in the morning, thought about it from 8 to 12, which is my lunchtime. And then took my lunch, came back, and I was like, fuck it. I'm going to do it right now.
I was so happy when you sent me that text. I'm like, let's go, bro. Because I had just told you, like, I think a few days before, like, dude, just fucking do it. Like, because I and a lot of other people saw it, So I looked at like where I was when I was going to go full time. And then I looked at you and I'm like, dude, you're fine.
Yeah.
Like if I could do it then, I was even less busy than you were when I went full time. So I'm like, what makes you think you're not going to be able to do it?
It's funny though, because like nobody saw it. I didn't see it for a long time. So my mom didn't see it either,
Yeah,
like
of course.
She was not like super aware, but then I told her, and now looking back, we have conversations and she's like, I was a little skeptical. Like I didn't know that you were that established. And now she's always been supportive. Like even when I did it, she didn't give me any pushback. But she does say that she was a little skeptical, and then it turned out just fine, man. And it's crazy because you have to look at everything that's going on for you and then go from there. Like take maybe your parents' advice and like take that into consideration. Don't just blow them off.
No, yeah, of course not.
But at the end of the day, you only know how you're doing, you know?
Yeah, you know all the numbers, you know your costs, you know like any debt you might have or payments that you have, like you know that more than anyone. So just be smart about it.
Be smart about it. Don't lie to yourself, because you might be, I really want to do this full-time thing. So you might not look at it like...
And just be more responsible with your money. Like don't spend money on things as much that you might not, like set a budget.
Yeah.
Budgeting is a huge, I think.
Yeah.
And that's something I got really good at after going full time, of like how much money can I spend a month on just things that I might want for me, or like other stuff that isn't like a necessity once I have all my bills paid, you know. And that's how I did it. And you can always talk to someone who, you know, like a financial advisor if you don't know how to go about it, or just look up stuff on YouTube. Like you can get tutorials on how to budget.
Yeah, I think the
online.
main thing, if your parents don't support what you're doing, you gotta come back with receipts, dude. You gotta be like, hey, here's what's going on. And even my mom is very supportive. I don't want to like make her seem like she's not, but this month, like we were talking about, it wasn't like the best month.
Yeah, it was like it's just very chill.
It was just
like,
a chill month. I had a lot of downtime.
Yeah,
where I wasn't doing much, and my mom noticed that, and like I would see her like, no tienes nada ahora? Like you're not gonna go work
That's
today?
funny because, well, I mean, I don't live in like with my parents, but like
but they
would still kind of like notice a little bit, like, oh, you're not as busy.
And I noticed that, and we're pretty straightforward. Like I can have very straightforward conversations with my mom, and I noticed that she did that like a couple of times, 3-4 times, and then I'm like, Mom, are you like tripping that I'm not going to do stuff?
Yeah.
And then I started like, you know, I'm kind of tripping because I know that she's kind of tripping over it. And I was like, well, Mom, look, here's how many shoots I've done this month. This is how much I'm doing per shoot. This is the amount of deposits that I've gotten from people. And this is like whatever else that's coming in. And I'm still doing well. Like,
even in a slower
I'm very well over like what I was making back at my old job.
Yeah.
So I'm like, you know, it's not the best month, but I'm still doing fine. Like it's nothing like to make me go back to my old job.
Yeah, like you're like, damn, I gotta go find another job. And it's also just slower season.
Slower season, man.
And we have slower seasons. It's okay.
Yeah, the holidays just passed. People, you know, might not be wanting to spend that much
the way
money.
I was looking at it, because I was the same way. I'm like, I still compared it to what I was making at Patagonia even this month. And I'm like, I'm still a little over that.
Yeah.
And I was doing just fine with what I made there every month. Because I had essentially almost the same cost besides like a few different ones. But then I looked at how next month is looking already. And then don't get me started in March, April.
Summertime.
I'm like, okay, I'm good after this month.
Yeah.
Like I'm
and then
just
I also
smooth sailing.
Like, I feel like with us, you want to look at your finances. Maybe a year is a little too long, but like, what about every 6 months?
Pretty far ahead.
Yeah, pretty far ahead, man. Just like
plan out.
You're gonna have 1 month that you're gonna make a bunch of money. Some others you won't make that much money, but then you build, you know, you make the math, and you're like, oh, I made this much throughout the year. I'm chilling.
Yeah, like you have to definitely plan a little ahead money wise, and like, you know, see how much you're gonna be making, and you know, like all those things, and then take in like consideration like when you might slow down a little bit.
Right.
Because I think being self-employed is a lot of that, is like just knowing your money and like all your finances and stuff like that.
Yeah, and I know all of this is very focused on photography because that's what we do. I have a story though. My friend does theater. She works for the theater here. I don't know what it's called, but she sent me the story, man, because I posted it on Instagram, and I want to go through it. Because she's like, what if it took them a while to support me? And I'm like, whoa, what did it take for them to start supporting you? Because she is not doing photography, she's doing something else, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then she said, dog, I had to practically put together a PowerPoint to show them what I was doing and how it would be a stable job. I was originally in school, and when I told them I wanted to switch to theater, they didn't openly say they were against it, but they hit me with the, how about you just take a semester break from school? Maybe you're just tired and need rest.
Mm.
You know, you get some pushback every now and then.
Mm-hmm.
When I told them I wanted to pursue a career in theater and design tech, they were super nervous about it. It took like a solid semester for them to get on board with the idea. I legit had to go through the entire process of showing them job listings and explaining what it would actually do, what I would actually do, and that I wasn't doing acting. That I will be able to work for a company or a theater and be a stage designer. Yeah, consistent proof. Goes back to show them the receipts.
Yeah. If what it takes is you showing your parents how much you make in 1 month, then do it.
Yeah.
Because maybe that now that they have a number in their head, they're like, oh, okay.
Yeah. It might suck at first, but I promise you, like, you come back and you tell them that you're doing well for yourself, they're gonna be very happy.
They're also gonna slowly see it. Like your life starts to change the better you start doing as you progress. Yep. You know, like you're gonna seem happier. You're not gonna be as stressed. You're gonna have more time for stuff, and people notice that. Like, because
at the end of the day, they want the best for you. I don't think it's coming from a bad place. Bad place.
Yeah.
So just show them that you can do it, man, and you can do it. I don't want to discourage anybody out there, but also, it's not gonna be an overnight thing. You have to work for it.
It takes time, and you got to be smart and play your cards right. But anybody can do it, man.
Yeah.
Anybody can.
Anybody can, man. There's a lot of work for everybody out there. We're both very booked out, and our friends are very booked out. And that just goes to show you just how much demand there is for photography and art.
Yeah,
there.
And just anything.
I know Michael is going for it.
I know. I'm so happy for him, man.
I know. Shout out to
him. I've been telling him about that too for at least like a year and a half. I think I've mentioned it to him about like, oh, you should. But I also didn't fully know where he was, like finance wise and stuff. And
he had a good job, right?
Yeah, he has a good job, and
and that's when it might be a little trickier, right? Like,
yeah, and he has him and his roommates own a house, and like he has to take all those things into consideration. But the biggest thing is like you're gonna have so much more time for your craft, like whatever you're doing now, it's gonna double. So look at it that way, So I'm very happy that he's gonna finally do that. And
it's funny because I went for it, and then Chris also went for it.
Yeah,
all of a sudden.
And Chris has been doing good.
Chris, I don't know if we have talked about this, but I don't think he was super busy when he did it.
Not that much.
But it was like a thing that he was gonna do it, and then I did it. Now like I have to like figure it out.
He started taking the right moves to like book himself out,
and I think he did very well for himself. Like he had a lot of events and he had a lot of weddings. That he was able to get.
Another thing is like when you have friends that are ready to take that step, don't be stingy to like throw things their way. You know, like if you are booked or something, like send someone an event or something.
I think also like before I met you, I don't think I knew anybody that was doing it. So it was like, well, I don't see people doing it full time around me. It was like, well, what makes me think that I'm gonna be able to do it,
Yeah.
Then I met you, and you have a bunch of friends I think that do it full time.
Yeah. Before I went full time, my closest little circle was like Luke, Davey, and Chef, who all did it full time, and
I think that helps out too.
They were definitely always on my ass about it. Like, dude, you're busy. Like, just do it, bro. Because we would go take like little hangout trips, and I'd be like, I gotta go to work later. They're like, just fucking do it, and you can hang out with us all day. Or like they would go on like day trips, like 2-3 days at a time on like weekdays, and I couldn't go, and they'd always invite me, like come out Like, I can't take the time off. And they're like, see, if you went full time, bro, you could just pull up. And those were like things I needed to hear to just like motivate me more.
Hey man, surround yourself with the people that you want to be like, you know.
I think like I took what they told me and I was slowly trying to pass it on to you and be like, bro, we could hang out so much more. We could go wherever we want. And then now look, we got fucking Oregon coming up.
And like yesterday, like we just went, had coffee, and then went to eat.
Yeah, you could have not done that. You would have been at work.
I would have been at work, man. So
exactly.
See?
So
all right, everybody.
But yeah, I think we kind of covered those two topics.
Yeah, that was a good conversation, I feel like.
Yeah.
Hopefully
definitely be smart about your money. Look at where you're at. Don't let anyone discourage you from doing it. Do it for yourself above anybody else. But be responsible and careful getting there. Like, don't just one day wake up and I'm like, I'm doing it. Yeah. And you haven't really looked at everything else. And you'll be fine.
Yeah, and then I know I reference this kid a lot. And if he listens to this, like, I feel like he did a right thing, like talking to me and stuff. Like you just getting a different perspective, because you can talk to your group of friends, but they're all your same age. Yeah, nobody's doing what you want to do. Yeah, you know,
it's different.
Like, reaching out to people and being open about what you're going through is definitely a good idea and a good way to go about it.
Definitely.
So shout out to him if he's listening. I'm sure he knows.
I gotta say, you be looking real cute in that casual wear today.
Dude, it's gray sweatpants, dude.
You've been doing legs? Them thighs be looking kind of thick, bro.
Dude, this is first strap sweats, dude.
I had to end it on that. My fault.
We'll end it on that. Fuck.
Thank you for watching, everybody. We appreciate it. See you next week.
Fucking stupid.